I feel confident for the future of Simona with her appeal to the CAS because it's an independent tribunal. We have been able to establish where the contamination comes from. So we proposed her to take collagen, and we brought her collagen from a company. This collagen happened to be contaminated. There was no way to know it. But I feel responsible for what happened because it's my team, so me basically, who brought her this collagen. We have done all the possible tests to be able to establish that we are talking about a contamination. I'm very confident that this independent tribunal will recognize the fact that she never did doping. She's a victim and she has to come back to the court and be able to compete as soon as possible. It opened my eyes on the fact that any athlete can be contaminated tomorrow because apparently this happens more and more. Products that are supposed to be clean happen to be contaminated. We're talking about extremely low levels of something. When I say extremely low, it's extremely low, so it has zero effect. But you happen to have in your system something that shouldn't be there, that makes you positive to an anti-doping test. And this is terrible because you are completely innocent. Your reputation is impacted, hurt by the fact that your name has to do with doping, even though you didn't do any doping. Your career is stopped for a period of time that can be extremely long. It can affect your whole career. It affects your reputation for a very unfair reason because you have done nothing. So it opened my eyes that it can happen to anyone, and the companies that you decide to go with for supplements, you have to be sure 100% that this cannot happen.
Patrick Mouratoglou is a liar. He lied with a straight face. He lied on camera. He's even lied in emails. But be assured, he is 100% a liar. How do I know? For many years, I worked in professional tennis, and I've always been working as a professional journalist, sports journalist. And I know what these people do. I know what they have to do to win, because I know from personal experience that to stay in the top 20 of the world men's or women's rankings, possibly even top 30, maybe even top 40, but definitely the top 20, you cannot do it on a cup of tea and a slice of toast. It is not possible. Someone who will tell you it is, they will have a bag of beans, a box of fairy dust, and they'll take everything away from you. Now, we're meant to believe that before Simona Halep went to train with Patrick Mouratoglou, who of course had trained and had relations with Serena Williams, she of the many missed tests, she of the panic room, of the late night phone call to the head of US anti-doping and the head of the US Tennis Association that she would not take tests. She who has come out and said, I've never failed a test. So that Patrick Mouratoglou, we're to believe that Simona joined him was clean as a driven snow, pure as a driven snow. And suddenly, after being at the top of her game, she fell apart and started to dope. Simona was doing something before she went to Patrick Mouratoglou. He gave her something different, something that didn't suit her system. We've spoken with this before in Capital Sports 3.0. We know it's a fact. What she was caught doping with, the substance that was in her system in quite a decent amount, wasn't just contamination of a sports food supplement. That's not possible. She'd have had to have tub after tub after tub of this collagen supplement to get such a high result in her drugs test. So that's not a case. That's a lie. It's not contaminated supplement. Remember when in a major competition in the French Open, she suffered a panic attack, as she said. Her heart was racing. She couldn't see properly. It just so happens it was a side effect of the drug she took after starting training with Patrick Mouratoglou. And what did Patrick say when they spoke after she came off court. We've shown this before, folks. We know this is true. It's been on Eurosport. He said, when am I going to start playing again? When am I going to the next tournament? So Patrick Mouratoglou is a liar. He's lied with a straight face. And we've said all along, Simona has signed an NDA with him, a non-disclosure agreement. She cannot tell about training methods, about what she took, about what kind of methods they used, because Patrick wants to keep it a secret. Why does he wanted to keep it a secret? Who knows? But it's not for good reasons. So step back, think about it. Why would he now apologize? Why does he have to come out and say, it was one of my team who made a mistake? Yes, we did it wrong. Does he think we're all idiots? Does he think that we are fools to believe what he's going to say? Well, I'm not a fool, not all the time. And I don't believe what he says, not for a moment. And when he came out 2 days ago and brought this out on his Instagram, it wasn't a support. It was a way to put the blame off on somebody else, a way to muddy the waters, because Simona is facing 4 years fully of her ban. She's admitted her guilt. She says, look, okay, I did, just let me off. She's going to fight to try and get off for good behavior, so time served. But it goes back again. Patrick does not run a clean operation. He's been caught, and now he's trying to wiggle his way out. And on that, on our Sunday night sports special, Capital Sports Special, I'm going to bring in Andrew Flint. Andrew, you said that was the most unapologetic apology you've ever seen. I mean, it was just kind of, it's like Colin Powell was resurrected and said, listen, the WMD's Iraqi people, I'm sorry about it. I didn't mean it. He did not mean one word, Andrew.
Look, I mean, an apology is a simple thing. When it becomes, the apology itself becomes a web that is quite hard to decipher itself, you automatically know the person is talking out of something other than their mouth. I mean, I think the bit that gets me where he says, I feel responsible, as if we went to go, oh, that's really caring of him. That's really upfront and honest. So who is then Patrick? Well, you know, I feel responsible for it, but it's opened my eyes. It's opened my eyes. Patrick, what do you mean it's opened your eyes? You are, whether you're dirty or clean, you're in this industry. You've been in this sport for a long time. So what do you mean it's opened your eyes? You can't have your eyes open. You're the one in the middle of all of this, whether you're innocent or not. And I agree with you, Alan, the timing and nature of it, other than just, we already know not to, well, we know when he's not telling the truth because his lips are moving, but other than that, the timing of it, does he really honestly think that is going to tie a nice little ribbon around it and, you know, court of arbitration for sport will think, well, okay, we'll let Simona off, and, well, because you've said you feel responsible, but, oh, we couldn't possibly have known, we'll let you off as well, Patrick, because at least you were really upfront and honest on Instagram, of course, whatever platform would it be. I mean, when you're I mean, there's so many elements of it that I shouldn't be laughing, but it's so ridiculous I can't help myself. When you're trying to convince people that a player that you've coached is not involved in doping, stop saying the word doping so many times in one apology video, Patrick. I mean, it's, I don't know. I don't know where we go from this, but look, Alan, what you mentioned at the beginning, if you want to be in the top 20, then tea and toast won't cut it. I don't think anybody really at any level of support, knowledge of most professionals would be that surprised by a statement like that, which is a damning indictment of sport. But I think it's a realistic thing to say. I don't think too many people would be that naive anymore about it. Yes, I'm sure people are going to dope to get to the top of sport. When you have such a high-profile coach like Mr. Mouratoglou, I think he's hoping the stardust that he's surrounded himself with will add extra credence to his words. People just need to listen. And actually, if anything, I think he's actually helping us here by putting out a video like this that really, I don't think he understands. It exposes how ridiculous he is more than actually makes us think, oh, well, maybe everybody really was just an innocent mistake. He even, not one last thing, he even digs a hole for himself by saying try to make the case it was an innocent mistake, it was a contamination that nobody could have known about, and then goes on to say, but you have to be 100% certain you know what you're sourcing and who you're sourcing it from and what's involved. That part is actually true, which completely undermines what you've literally just said, Patrick. So which is it? Is it possible to make a mistake, or do you have a responsibility to be 100% certain?
Everything he said, like you said, when he opens his mouth, he's telling a lie. It just is very, very clear. And in the last couple of days, because we want to do a little small special on this ahead of a longer chat with Isol Cody, our legal eagle, tomorrow. And Andrew's in Yekaterinburg, and I'll be not far from Yekaterinburg tomorrow, but we're going to catch up with that as well. The whole situation is this, that I've spoken with people involved in tennis who've retired 2-3 years, who are actually 2 years, and then people who are still playing. And I've spoken with a coach as well today. And I asked, is this for real? Does he really think we believe it? And as he said, look, he's putting up a big defense. He's trying to distance himself from it because he's talking about my team and poor Simone, and she suffered. And when he tells lies like low levels and any athlete can become contaminated, athletes, just the one thing, athletes do not fail doping tests the first time they dope. They get caught doping. It's not the first time, because if that's the case, prisons should just open up and let all the prisoners out, because every single prison we know they're innocent. I didn't do it. Like someone else said, people always have an excuse. And these are people, when they get caught, they have a million and one excuses. Oh, I was kissing a girl in a nightclub, she had cocaine in her lips. Or all these Jamaican athletes now being busted because they're being busted for cannabis. Yeah, that's a really great masking agent, because if you get done for cannabis, that's the lowest one you'll get done for. You're not going to get done for the other PEDs in your system. So with Simone right now, her fans are all happy. Romanian tennis is going, look, finally Patrick's admitted to it. He didn't admit to anything.
But what precisely? This is exactly it. The headlines will say, Mouratoglou admits. But no, he hasn't. It's done the exact opposite of it. Okay, answer me this question then. You have experience in tennis, as you mentioned at the beginning. You're not inexperienced in how these things work. If anybody makes the active effort to not ask, but they themselves put out a video like this, they will only ever do it, surely, with a purpose in mind, where it will benefit them for good or bad reasons. That you don't simply offer up a video like this if you believe it has zero chance of benefiting you. So, tell me your honest opinion. What do you think? Forget a normal, logical human being. Put yourself in a pathological liar's mind. Put yourself in Patrick Mouratoglou's mind. What do you think he believes the benefit of this video is?
He has engaged a PR agency, an international PR agency, quite a reputable one. It's a PR agency that used to work quite a lot here in Moscow under its old name. They've changed their name. That's how I know that they got him. So they've now changed their name. They're still working with Russian companies, but under a different name, obviously, after last March. So the company he's with are not French, and they have basically said, you need to get out in front of this. So the brief, I don't know, but what I do know from one of the people working with the agency still here in Moscow, and she simply said they were told damage control because you need to support her. If Simone is saying, look, it was contaminated, he'll have to admit some part of the guilt, because she, from what the PR people here believe, has threatened them. She's threatened to break her NDA and admit what was going on to get a lesser sentence and to clear her soul. She's suffering. This woman has had some severe moments, and we spoke with this a couple of weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, where she literally has been on antidepressants for a while now because she really feels, what did I do? Now, also, she's furious because she was caught. Is she on a wrecking ball kind of thing that she's going to take everybody down? That could be the case. So he gets out with this and goes, well, listen, we kind of messed up. So I'll offer up as a witness to say, look, it was an accident. Because if she tells the truth, he's destroyed. So when it comes to the court of opinion, he'll go, listen, we gave her every chance. It was contaminated, but she don't want to accept it. What can Simone do now? She can just continue on. It was contaminated, when the results were kicked out saying it wasn't contaminated. You don't find this level of this drug in your system. And especially him saying, oh, this drug does nothing for you.
But Alan, you can't be right there, because Patrick assured us it was such a low level it would have zero effect. So I don't understand how that adds up.
And exactly, and the whole thing is that, like, when he says like that, it doesn't help. It doesn't help you play. It doesn't help.
Well, why were you giving it to her in the first place?
Exactly. So now I do no, Andrew. I will admit one thing. I will admit one thing from my own personal work and from studies in Poland and Hungary and in Ireland and in the UK and in Belgium, going to visit plants, sites where they manufacture sports supplements, from protein to pre-workout, post-workout, all that kind of stuff. So I've seen how they work. I think I've spoken before on the radio where in Hungary, not too far from Budapest, not too far, about an hour from Budapest, one of the places which produces for big, it produces for bigger suppliers on their name. So it's just a big kind of no-name plant. And I was looking at their protein mix, and they were mixing in brown, and it was strawberry something flavor. And they were mixing. And I was looking at it, and I saw this lump, like it was a black, kind of black, dark red lump. And I thought, okay, maybe something that was dampness, it like congealed. This is powder, and the powder's flying everywhere, So the guy started to try and hit it with a kind of a ladly kind of a stick to break it. And then it didn't, because at first he thought it was the same as me, that it was just some congealed protein. Yeah. He took it out, dropped on the ground, and it was a big beetle, about the size of the palm of your hand. They had brought all this protein powder in from China. So it was a beetle. Now, that was in Hungary. In Poland, I went where they were mixing pre-workout stuff. So they were mixing stuff that would be very like Jack 3D or Jacked, the banned one, the dangerous one, the pre-workout. And they were mixing that, and then they took it out of the big mixer. They brushed it out, so that was finished. So they filled all the jars or the tubs, and then they put in the next mix, and it came in. They didn't clean out the mixer. So there is chance of contamination. But the chance of an elite athlete getting contaminated is almost zero. Zero, Andrew.
I think it's quite important here to distinguish between contaminated with something and contaminated with very specific ingredients that are specifically banned and have a direct effect on athletic performance.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not saying this beetle isn't some magic beetle that just happens to have some weird squeeze its blood and it comes out with some magical power, possibly, for all I know. I'm not an expert on beetles, but the odds on that, even Patrick would agree that the odds on that really were quite low. I mean, the way you say the mixers aren't cleaned out, I mean, contaminating slightly dirty, slightly off, slightly lumpy. I mean, I have a protein shake every morning, and it's a 2 kilo bag, and it looks okay to me. For all I know, there could be the odd little tiny trace of whatever it, because they haven't cleaned the tubs. But that doesn't make me any better of an athlete.
Listen, Andrew, the amount of contamination that would have to have been in there would mean that a quarter of the previous stuff. This isn't powder floating from another part of the plant. This would have to be put into the mix. It would have to be there, because when you mix it up, the collagen supplement, it would have to be, it's divvied out into lots and lots of other like packs. So if it was contaminated, it wouldn't be contaminated to the volume that was found in her sample. As I said, unless she was gobbling down the collagen, it's not there. And collagen is great to take. Collagen would be rated basically 0 as protein, but it's extremely important for flexibility, for joint work, for all muscles and like basically ligaments and so on. It's basically makes people more elastic. It's very, very, very good. It's from gelatin and so on. So it's very, very healthy. It's very good. It's not kind of protein that bulks up muscles. It attaches, it helps the tendons and so on. But again, for her to have taken for what she was found within her system, she would have to have literally gobbled down jars and jars and jars and then done the test. So again, going back onto it, Patrick Mouratoglou is an absolute stone cold liar. He's not telling the truth. Full stop. It's not plausible. It's not possible. If she gets away with this, if she won't get away with it, but if she does somehow escape further sanction, it will simply be because something funny has gone on behind it. But I don't believe so. She'll go back to CAS. She'll say, look, this is what I have. They'll just look and go, not possible. Again, people I've spoken with from the science world, I've asked them, is this possible? No, it's not possible. It's not possible. So they will look at facts. They will look at figures. They will look at reality, and they'll kick it out. Patrick is covering up because he knows that if she then fails in CAS, he's come clean. His heart is clean. His soul is clean. He's born his soul. He's like admitted guilt.
Oh, born again.
And she goes down and he doesn't lose business because people say, oh, look at that great trainer. He really cares about his athletes. Doesn't matter what he's done to other athletes. Doesn't answer that he sleeps with his clients. Doesn't answer any questions about how he drove young players, basically their bodies into the ground simply by pushing them too hard. So is this one someone you want to send your child to? Not in a million years. But he comes out.
Oh, no. But he is a winner. And that's more important, right?
He gets results. Andrew, on that note, thank you very much. We're going to see you tomorrow evening as well. So on that note, folks, we will say goodbye for now. We're back on, of course, tomorrow evening. Monday evening, we will be on air at 8 p.m. We'll be talking before that anyway, but it will be 8 p.m. CET, 7 p.m. in the UK and Ireland. So until then, I'm Alan, we're saying take care of yourselves, have a good Sunday night, and take care of each other.